Is that all we can say? Or we can sing with the copyright?
Yeah, we can't say anything else. Okay. That's it.
Welcome back to another episode of Going For A Take. Today we're doing a joint film episode. We're doing Warfare and Sinners, two great films, in my opinion. We might have other people think otherwise.
I have opinions on Sinners.
We got Kit Connor himself over here. Olly Rhodes. I'm Matt, and
I'm Ben.
And first, let's kick off with Warfare, shall we?
Yes.
Let's just dive straight in.
Tell me about your experience filming Warfare.
All right, yeah, nice. That joke's going to get very old very quickly. So if you haven't seen it already, Warfare follows a platoon of Navy SEALs embarking on a dangerous mission in Iraq, in the Iraq War in 2006, I think it was. It's told through the perspective of the Marines in real time as well, which is really interesting. We'll touch on that. It's directed by Alex Garland, who directed Civil War, which was actually one of my personal favourite films from last year, and also co-directed and written by Ray Mendoza, who's actually one of the Marines that served at the time and was there on the day. So yeah, lads, this film was an experience.
It was.
It was so good. I think it's skyrocketed to my favorite film of this year already.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I gave it a 10 on my IMDb.
Amazing.
It'd probably be like a 9.5 or something, but I would change nothing about the whole thing. It was stunning. It's exactly my kind of film. Not necessarily in terms of like action films. I'm not really a big action dude in terms of that kind of stuff. It was more the pressure cooker element of it. It felt like it almost could have been a play, where it's just like one environment, you're just locked in, and it's just all about the relationships and all about how things start to fracture once everything goes wrong.
I want to touch on that in a little bit about relationships. But first,
go on.
Ben, what did you think? Did you enjoy?
I don't know if enjoy is the right word to use.
I had a horrible time watching it, to be fair.
Then, I loved it.
I thought it was a really well-crafted film. It was quite disturbing to watch. I think a lot of war films that I've seen, they're very graphic, and this was the same. It was very graphic to watch. You saw everything, and I watched it by myself, which is a reoccurring trend at the moment for us.
I'd say with that graphicness, though, with this, there was no romanticization or whatever the exact word is.
They didn't glamorize war.
At all. It was
grim,
dirty and grimy, and mistakes were being made left, right, and center. And it wasn't like, go America are the best. It was just like, wow, everyone, all these normal people are being put in this environment, and everything's just going wrong, and they're struggling to even remember their training. And these Navy SEALs would have gone through like BUDS, which is, they have Hell Week, where they're literally like carrying logs above their head. They're having 3 hours of sleep. They're going through sand terrains, being underwater with scuba gear malfunctioning in the dark, being unable to breathe properly. And then they get put in this environment, which they've been trained to deal with high pressure situations. And then even then, things still go wrong.
I think when I was watching it, you can't train for this sort of environment, because I mean, just imagine being trapped in a building where it's almost like you're prey, and you're getting hunted. And when you get hunted, what do? You try and escape. But if you can't escape, then you got to find another way. And all these ways of them building through BUDS is great, but until you're put in that situation, I'd imagine, at least because I've not experienced it, I'd imagine. What? I know, right? Crazy, man. I'd imagine you just crumble, and to try and have that mental resilience just to keep going, even when your legs are blown off, even when your friends around you are dying. Mm-hmm. That's something which it's painful to watch in a good way, because it makes you realize the reality of war. It's not a film about war in a way. It's just war, and it's a segment of war.
So what would you say it's about? If it's not,
I'd say it's about a friend. I'd say it's about a friendship. It's about people together trying to stay together when everything's going wrong. Obviously, it is about war technically, but I think it's more than that.
I think it comes to what you were going to talk about with relationships. It's about that brotherhood. I watched the Jocko Willink podcast, or I got about half an hour into it, because he was part of the Navy SEAL team that were there before this Navy SEAL team arrived. So he was part of SEAL Team 3, and then this is SEAL Team 5 that they rotate into. I definitely recommend people to watch that as well to get some more context around like the Battle of Ramadi that this is happening in. But this idea of a brotherhood sort of not falling apart, but people trying to hold each other up as everything's going wrong. It'd be interesting to look into, you know, why they had that call on me at the start of the film, and how that relationship was made through the cast. I think, was that pretty much what you're going to sort of jump off on?
I wanted to ask you guys, how much did you care about the characters on screen? How effective was it at creating an environment that made the audience empathize and sympathize with these people on screen?
I think you care about some of the characters more than others.
Cold-hearted, man.
No, but I mean, because some of them you see that that charisma come through more, and then because you start to like them more, because you see them as, I don't want to use the word nice, but you see them as good people. You're like, oh, you don't want them to die. It's like any film when there's a death, you don't want them to die. You want to carry on because it's either good acting or you connect with the character. And there were certain characters, for example, Kit Connor's character, who it looked like it was his first time in a scenario like this.
Mm-hmm. He was the youngest member.
Yeah, and you empathize with that. He's going into something so innocent, even though he's had the training, that you come out of it different. It's like when I watched Apocalypse Now. You watch the start of the film to the end of the film, and you see that how it changes them. And you see that in this film of how the psychological effect of these characters, and how at the start of the film you've got Call on Me playing and they're all dancing, and I always thought it was going to be like the good areas of war in terms of like the friendships you make.
Yeah, the camaraderie.
Yeah, I thought it would be like that, and then about 10 minutes later, shit hits the fan, and then it was violent, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's not.
Yeah, these people, they talk about it on the Jocko Willink podcast because they've got Elliot Miller and, let me double check his proper name, Joe Hildebrand. Elliot Miller is the sniper that Cosmo Jarvis plays, and then Joe he's called Sam in the movie, I think, from what IMDb was saying. I can't remember exactly, but I think it's because they based the character loosely around him. He's played by Joseph Quinn. And they talk about that in their training a lot of the time. They talk about how the enemy's dumb and they have no idea what they're doing, and it's trying to like downplay all that kind of that side of things. And then they actually arrive, and you know they're partying and they listen to Call on Me and they're having a great time. And apparently that was like a really popular tune with the troops, and I think you can probably imagine why.
I wonder why.
It's a good music video, and yeah, that hype and that party and that almost like frat culture, almost is like a coping mechanism, like a defense, knowing like in the back of their minds what they're about to enter into, because they're talking about how they received, I can't remember the exact word, but like the information from SEAL Team 3 about what was really happening in Ramadi and how everything was just getting fucked. Like no one knew what was going on, and it was just dangerous. It was really dangerous. And Elliot's like sending emails back and forth being like, yeah, we're gonna get our jihad on, and we're gonna like do all that, like and I think it does come down to like having this almost party culture or celebration, because they know how dangerous and dark it is going to be. I think having that tune at the start of the film was genius, because then from there on in, I was like, I know these guys. These are my friends too. I know who that is. I know who Will Poulter's character is. I know who Cosmo is. I know how I fit if I was part of these guys in this framework of my mates. I know when I go for a pint who these guys would be. And so then I can place all of those quite easily into this situation. And say, well, that could be, I don't know, Kieran, one of my mates, and he could be that guy.
Yeah.
And then I can really sort of have an affinity for a lot of them as, not true colors start to be revealed, but they never really know how they're going to deal with it. But I think they had operations already before this one. I don't think this was their first operation in Ramadi. This was just the one where shit really kicked off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say that I had a lot of empathy towards all of them. I don't think. Yeah, it felt like I was with a bunch of mates, and the camera perspective as well. Obviously, you're really into your cinematography, so what were your thoughts on how they placed? Like, there was only really 3 perspectives. There was the drone, I guess, with the infrared or
The
whatever you
thermal
call it.
imaging, yeah.
Thermal. You have Charles Melton team, and then you also have Will Poulter's team. So you only really have 3 perspectives. But
Yep.
the camera kind of is just found in between each person. It's almost like you're another person within that group.
Yeah,
So
the camera becomes a character. And that's something that Alex Garland really tries to focus on in a lot of his films. And he really honed it in Civil War.
Yeah, definitely.
Of obviously that's following photojournalists in wartime. And he wanted the camera to feel as if it was another journalist holding the camera, following these other journalists. So it felt like you are on this journey with them, and you're not just watching them, you're in it. And also contributing to that as well is the sound design. Sound design of this film, oh my days, so good. It was so precise as well. I think I saw somewhere that Ray Mendoza advised on like how bullets sound going away from you versus coming towards you.
Ooh,
and it's being that detailed. And it's also one of the only films where every time that they started shooting or a bomb went off or just any time it started, I jumped out my skin.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. It was so loud and so overstimulating in the best way possible. I genuinely had a horrible time watching it in the best way. Like, I'm going to go watch it again. Hopefully in IMAX this time.
I really want to see it in IMAX.
It's like,
wait, Warfare's in IMAX?
Yeah.
Filmed
Although
in
I
IMAX.
imagine at the time I had a quick look, Thunderbolts is going to be the IMAX at the moment, so I might be tricky to find it. Go on, you have a question? Do you?
No, I was just going to continue to say like the complete immersion into it. Like, I don't think the camera's locked off at any point. It's never on a tripod. It's never still. The camera is always in motion. And also sort of telling the story in real time, with the exception of the first 2 scenes where obviously you've got Call on Me, where they're creating the brotherhood, they're showing you these relationships, because outside of that, we know nothing about these characters. We have no reason to care about them. We don't know if they've got families or fiancés or anything at home. This is everything that we know. So that scene alone, just to create a little bit of sympathy and empathy for these characters, really effective. And then them breaking into this family's home, which, I mean, we'll touch on it in a little bit, but showing it's not unbiased. The film is not unbiased. It's still westward leading. Like,
interesting.
So
I've got points, but yeah,
I'd say it's honest. It's definitely honest about war and how there's no real winners in war and everything. However, in the story, our heroes are still the American soldiers, and the enemies are still nameless Middle Eastern people.
Nameless brown dudes.
Yeah, like and that's the perspective. And they touch on a little bit of, you know, how the native people of Iraq were affected, and by breaking into this family's home and showing it from their point of view as well. But then, yeah, going back to my original point of like immersing us in it by telling it in real time and having the sort of slower points be slow and have it drag on purpose.
Yeah.
It didn't drag is probably the wrong word, because at no point did I feel bored.
Oh no, the tension's just building. You know something's
coming, but it's like it's slow on purpose, because it's like, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna kick off? And then when it does kick off, you don't get a rest. Yeah. There is no respite from that point on. That's it. You're in, and it's a fucking roller coaster.
It's so sick. I can feel myself getting irritated about some of the criticism that I've seen about the film, where it talks about how, similar to what you were briefly kind of touching on, that they are nameless, you know, the Iraqi family that are there as well. there was one review that I saw a while back where they were saying how like no context is provided about what's going on. I think that was kind of the point of the film, that it was this, all you're doing is, it says right at the start, it's like, these are something about memories. This is how it's been pieced together.
Yeah.
So the perspective is that you are just joining this bunch of mates and you're seeing how this bunch of mates deal with this situation. It's so much more subtle than other war films. Oh, obviously it's not subtle in terms of like the danger and the action that's happening, but in terms of the themes, what it's trying to say is a piece. You know, you have other sort of American war films where they're like, yeah, Americans are fucking sick and we did amazing jobs and we were right to go into Iraq and all this other kind of stuff. Whereas with this, Alex Garland is just like, it's a fine brushstroke. It's just a camera pan to a family portrait of the Iraqi family.
Yeah.
And it holds on it for a second. And if you as a viewer are interested in that, if you as a viewer want to go off and do your research and look into the battle and find out what was going on exactly, you can do that. You can go and have a history lesson. Or if you as a viewer are interested as to, okay, but what was it like for the other side? Then you can also go do that. But that's not the point of this film. It's got moments of that, but the point of this film is like what happens to these normal humans when everything goes wrong.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that there was no context, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because it forces you then to do your own research rather than get it given to you. And I think we live in a time where people just expect things rather than going out of their way to do things. And like watching this film, I didn't know this had happened. So watching this was my first time experiencing this event. And then even though we were doing it on the podcast, part of me was like, well, what actually was this event? Is there more stuff online? And obviously there will be.
Mm-hmm.
So you sort of then do your own research of like, oh, okay, so all of this happened and it all went down like this. I think another thing as well, which I liked, was how it felt quite slow at the start, like you were saying. But I felt like that was on purpose to build up the suspense. When they were trying to get out of the building before the bomb goes off, that to me was like, it's too slow for there not to be something.
Wait, can you repeat that last bit?
It's too slow for there not.
No, the bit just before that.
So when the bomb went off, it felt like there was quite a long period of time before they actually got to the tank.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And part of me was like, well, there's obviously going to be something. They're not just going to get in the tank halfway through the film and leave, because then it would be a 50-minute film. So I was like, oh no, what's going to happen? I'm not going to use the word enjoyed. What I found interesting was how it took place, how half of 3 or 4 of the soldiers there looked like they weren't going to make it back out again. Like that was it. They'd had their opportunity and it had failed, and they were just going to be stranded there and they were going to be zoned in.
Yeah, there was something where it said that Ray Mendoza, who's played by DeFaro Wunatai, again, if I pronounced the name wrong, I should have checked. They thought that Elliot wasn't going to make it out, which is why he goes over to Sam, he's called in the film. Ray, so Ray was a military advisor on Civil War, Alex Garland. And Alex Garland approached him being like, is there something that you want to make? And Ray was talking about how he'd been meaning to make this piece for a long time as like an ode to his friends that went through this shit.
Well, Elliot came out of it with no memory.
Yeah, Elliot has no recollection of it.
Yeah.
And also because of the IED that went off, it was a phosphorus bomb, which means that it burnt like his esophagus or trachea, which means that, so in the podcast with Jocko, he's using an iPad for like text to speech. And this is almost Ray's way of saying, again, all of these are memories. These are taken from different troops. They've been verified by maybe 2 or 3 people. This is what we think it might have looked like, Elliot.
Yeah.
You're still my brother, even if you can't remember this moment where we all had to really band together. So it's hard to hear the criticism that some people might be giving it when there's such like an emotional level to it, like a deep, meaningful relationship there. It is deeply moving.
So yes, at its core, it does have that emotional relationship, but the film itself is not enough for you to understand that. I feel like we only know that because of the research that we've done. Yes, we know by the end of the film, it says, it's for Elliot and it's marketed as being this true story that's based on their memories and that this really actually happened and we're trying to be as honest as we possibly can about it. But in terms of the core emotional reason that it's been made from Ray for Elliot and everybody else and showing the brotherhood and everything like that, I don't feel like the film does enough to make the audience realize that, the general audience. If you
Okay.
go in blind,
Yeah.
you have no idea about that.
What do you think people came out thinking?
My initial reaction to it, and it has changed since, when I came out, my first sentence was, that felt like honest propaganda, which has changed now. I don't think it is that anymore. But again, I've done a lot of research into it now. And so that's shaped my opinion. But like I say, it's still, yes, it is telling the story from the Americans' perspective. So obviously it's going to be West leaning. But from what I understood going into it, it was marketed as an unbiased look at war.
Unbiased what, sorry?
Look at war, which I don't think it was.
No, it's definitely
our heroes are still the Americans. They are still our protagonists. The antagonists are still the nameless Middle Eastern population. Like that's just, and yes, they touch on it and how they were affected as well. Like the civilians were affected as well. And that, yeah, there is some morally grey areas. But at the end of the day, it is still a hero's journey of the Americans making it out of this hellscape caused by
Interesting.
a
What
war.
about you, Ben?
I
Just to
feel
wrap
like
up on this.
I just want to touch on the bias point quickly. I feel like it is biased because it's a memory and you only remember specific parts of a memory. If you remembered the whole thing, you'd be a bit of a freak. You know what I mean? Like, God, I feel like
no offense to anybody that's just got good memory.
Yeah. No, but I don't know. Like you remember events, but you don't remember every single little detail. You always miss out stuff. And I felt like the film was detailed. I enjoyed the film. It was good, and you could see the authenticity of that. It's a story that people care about. It was very disturbing to watch, and kudos to making it like that because that's a hard thing to do. The screams were horrible. I had goosebumps at some of it. It was grim, but overall, the film was a very insightful film to watch. It wasn't my top film this year. We'll touch on which one was in a bit.
Oh,
I have so many thoughts
interesting.
on it.
Yeah, I'd
So
say
many
again,
thoughts.
just to wrap up, I genuinely don't feel like it was propaganda. And I saw someone online saying something about this, and I was like, yes, that's a really good point. Would the Navy SEALs, would they show this film or in training to all potential people coming in? Would they show this, or would they show Zero Dark 30 or more of those films that glamorize it? I don't feel like this glamorizes it at all. It shows like the strength and determination and how shit hits the fan and things go wrong. But it's like grim and dirty and blood curdling and screaming and guns like rattling your brain. And you leave going, oh, that was fucking awful. And feeling like empathy towards the people who are in that situation. I don't think it says, hey, you should come join the army or the SEALs or the Navy or whatever.
Yeah, I still think some people are going to walk away from it going, fucking shit, I need to join up. I need to help.
But do you know,
from that point of view, like, yes, I still think the film is incredibly effective in what it set out to do. It's honest, it is brutal, it's harrowing. But I still think there is a percentage of people that will watch it and go, that's my calling. I need to go and help so that this doesn't happen again.
I don't know, because it's like I was watching a war film the other day, Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, sick!
Yeah, and it reminded the second half of that film had similarities to this. The first half obviously is completely different, but the second half has similarities. And you watch a film like that, and you see the banter and the friendship, and you see the grim, visceral destruction of war, and I wouldn't watch this and go, I need to help out the army because it felt like a deterrent because it was so true to nature. It didn't feel like propaganda to me.
Yeah.
Fair.
I think final opinion on it is go see it in the cinemas if you can.
It's a sick
got
film.
another
It's so
two
good.
weeks run in the cinema now,
Yeah.
maybe 3, because it rattles your seats, and the experience won't be like what you watch it at home.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to see it again.
So
Is
good.
that messed up? I want to see it again.
No.
Oh yeah.
Are we recording?
We are.
We
We're
are.
not talking about Home Alone
And
2.
I-
I knew. I was like,
We're gonna move on
everyone's
to
silent.
Sinners now.
Classic. Yeah, no, not Home Alone 2, Sinners. Yes. Ben, so I assume this, from what you said in the last chat, this was your favorite film of the year so far?
Yes, it was. I thought it was incredible. I thought there was so much about this film which I loved. The detail, the score. I mean, Ludwig Göransson, like that guy is incredible, man. The scores he's created, Black Panther, he did Oppenheimer. Like, I don't know, his music's so visceral, and then the story itself was so visceral, and
Say visceral one more. Sorry, I'm joking.
and the actors as well were visceral.
Yeah.
I just really liked the story because of how original it was. It felt quite refreshing to watch because
Okay.
it didn't feel like a regurgitation. And now I know what you're going to say. It's a vampire film,
No,
and
no,
there
no.
are so many vampire
No.
films.
This isn't. I have my criticisms. I have my issues with it, but I also it is a very well made film. It has its merits. It's still a good film.
Mm.
I just have things that I would definitely change, and I wish they'd done differently.
And what was that?
Before we dive into it, though, just
Okay.
for people who
All right,
haven't seen
all right.
it, should we just do a quick overview of Sinners? So Sinners follows 2 twins, both played by Michael B. Jordan. Spectacularly, you do forget that he's playing opposite
incredible.
himself. He plays both of them with such defining characteristics. Brilliant
But
performance.
subtle as well.
Yeah. So they return to their hometown after freeing themselves as slaves in the hopes of freeing some of their other sort of friends who they've known growing up, and also opening a business where Black people can sort of be free and be themselves and have their own space in this segregated society. It's set in the 30s. No. When's it set?
I'm unsure, mate. You're the one with the laptop and the fact checking.
Yeah. Okay. It's set. I'll Google it in a minute.
So we'll check it later.
But then it turns out that there is a little bit of a supernatural twist. Irish musical dancing vampires show up.
Well, when you put it like that.
Yeah. Right. So I hadn't watched the trailer, but I knew what was coming. Had you watched the trailer? Did you know what was coming?
I'd watch the trailer, yeah.
We should have said a spoiler warning before all of this. People know it on this by now. Hopefully should do. You didn't know what was
I went
coming.
in completely blind. I had no idea what Sinners was about.
How did it feel for you? When did you clock what exactly was happening?
Right.
Obviously, Jack O'Connell turns up. What's it called? Remick. He goes to this house. He asks to be let in.
So
Did you clock when he was like, please let me in?
No. So for the
Just
first,
thought he was a very polite
for the
gentleman.
first hour, it was all exposition and sort of very slice of lifey, following this. Is he Catholic? I think he's Catholic. Religious boy, sort of playing his guitar with his cousins, who are back in town to set up this business and everything. And it's like it seems to be unraveling as quite an interesting story and an interesting social commentary of the time. And I was really on board with it. And then there was a hard cut to Jack O'Connell showing up, sizzling in the desert,
Oh, of
knocking
course,
on a
yeah,
door.
no, he's sizzling. So he's not just like, please let me in.
And I was
He's
like, what the?
I'm burning.
What the fuck is going on now? Okay, right, no, I'm fine. I'm still on board with the film. It's been good up till now, so I'll keep watching. And then he has to go in. I'm like, it's a bit weird. And I didn't clock he was a vampire until he kills the man, whatever his name
His
is.
back on fire.
I didn't know that because I didn't know it was about vampires.
Yeah.
So my brain didn't go there. In my head, I'm watching a period piece that's a social commentary on the
He's just
30s
Irish
or 40s
and
or
he's
50s
just
or whenever
burning.
it's
He
set.
just,
Ginger.
he's got pale skin and he just burns in the sun.
Yeah, but
Literally
that's
sizzles.
genuinely what I thought. Or I knew he was being chased by something because of the way he was acting. I was like, oh, he's clearly being chased. Maybe he's been on
Yeah,
fire. I knew something was going on along those lines, but I had no idea that it was supernatural. And I didn't clock onto that until he killed the man. But then we cut away from it and we do not revisit that for another hour.
I loved that though.
I hated it.
Why?
Because it couldn't. Right. My overarching opinion on this film, right? It's a good film. It tries to do too much.
Yes, agreed.
It feels like Ryan Coogler, this is the first original idea that he has been able to create and that has had backing. So he's written and directed it, and nobody told him in the development process to rein it in. No, he's just been allowed to run free and get all of his ideas out, and nobody said, hey, maybe you should make this period piece and then make a vampire film rather than smushing them both together, because it felt a little bit clunky.
Ben, I feel like you're going to disagree.
Absolutely.
I'm in the middle between you guys.
Please
I think.
disagree with me.
Go on.
But
Yeah.
Argue, Ben.
I
Argue.
disagree.
Take it down a notch.
Right. So I felt like there are so many period pieces out there already that a period piece with vampires, for me personally, I found that interesting. I think when the shot when you see Jack O'Connell with his back on fire, like I was like, ooh, he seems to be some sort of fallen angel. Is this Icarus?
Oh, so you didn't know? Did you know the vampires were coming?
I knew they were coming to an extent, but I didn't realize that he was. I'd seen the trailer ages ago,
Cool.
so it was like
Okay. reminding
me. And as soon as he got to the door, I was like, yeah, this guy's a vampire. It's like, there's no way he just wants to go in the house. I liked how we didn't revisit it for an hour. And the reason why is because the story to me wasn't about the vampires. That was the story later on, if that makes sense. The story at the start is you see this culture and people and
keep going.
No, keep going.
You see,
Don't let him interrupt with his little dramatic
honestly,
sigh.
man. You see people as family working together, trying to do something good for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked that. I thought at the start when you saw what was his name? Well, he was basically in the KKK at the start, and he sold the barn basically, or sold it because he was going to kill them.
Again, just I will let you carry on. I had no idea that's what happened. I didn't realize he sold it to them to kill them. Like that.
That was
no
a twist
clue.
that didn't feel earned from my.
Yeah,
Really,
that wasn't
I saw it
explored.
coming.
Unless
enough.
I didn't hear something, I was just like, oh, okay.
But for
let's
both
throw
of
that
us
in,
to
sure.
miss it, we watched it together, and for both of
I
us to
saw it
miss
in the
that,
that,
we did.
subtext. I saw it in his subtext when he was talking. I could see there was something vicious going on.
I thought he just didn't.
I
like
just
them
thought he
'cause
was just racist. Yeah, like that, and that was it. It was surface level. Like there was nothing to hint at that the deepness of where it was going to go.
So you're saying that you enjoyed the eclectic mix of all these different genres kind of put together.
I felt like it was a nice blend. It felt like multiple things. It felt like a lot, but it felt like it blended nicely. It wasn't too much, in my opinion.
I feel that it was, so there was an interview with Ryan Coogler where he's talking about how he wanted to give an audience a full meal. He wanted the starters, entrees, mains, desserts, and everything. And it feels like that, but I'm like, I didn't need all of that. For me, Ollie, you were talking about how you enjoyed the first hour. For me, the first hour, I didn't particularly gel with any of the characters. I was like, okay, cool, slow moving kind of piece, not my cup of tea, but it's cool. Okay, sure. And then once the vampire stuff kick-started, I was like, sick. Okay, we've got some action going on. We've got stuff going on.
Did you know vampires were in it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. And I've seen like From Dusk Till Dawn, and I've seen like grindhouse films. Grindhouse films being like, so they're called grindhouse films because they were shown in like low budget theaters and low budget cinemas, and they would usually be exploitation films, which kind of just means that they exploit a particular topic or theme. So ultra violence, lots of nudity, lots of sex, and it will be like these slasher films and stuff like that. And it feels like that once the vampire stuff kicks off. And even, I really dislike the bit where he heads off, picks up his machine gun, and then mows all the KKK down, because it just feels so out of piece for the whole film. But if I think about the film in terms of, if the first act could have been shortened to 20 minutes, half an hour, then it would have worked as okay, this is just like over the top, stylized. The writing lends itself to being that kind of style. But then there's also Ryan Coogler doing his gorgeous metaphors and all the stuff about Black history and culture and music calling forth our ancestors, which is far more poetic and meaningful and impactful. So it's just this smorgasbord of all these different things coming together.
Mm-hmm.
And then they jump forward to the post-credit scene and I'm like, okay, this is harsh, but another generic vampire thing where the vampires still live on and they're still the same age. They just look different because they wear the new fashion. Just didn't feel needed. I would have preferred, I love the concept of music can bring forth the devil.
Yeah.
And it brings forth sin and it brings forth visitors that you don't want. But it also can bring forth your ancestors too.
In the past, blues, it very much revolves around blues music and how that was born in sort of Black culture and everything. And in the past, like, blues has been referred to as the devil's music, and they really took that literally.
Yeah.
Which I really loved. I loved that whole idea of celebrating Black culture and its history and where all of these modern day things, like where their origins came from and like how it's evolved. And that one scene in the bar, where all of the different musical styles and dances and everything, it's all coming together.
Sick.
So good. I was really scared at the start of that scene because I thought, oh no, they're going to ruin it.
We're going really off piece now.
But then they lent into it so much. I was like, oh yeah, you've got me again. This is sick. Also, Miles Catton, what a voice.
Insane
oh my God.
voice.
So good.
Wow.
And I really loved all of that messaging and all the devices that Ryan Coogler was using. But then I feel like all of that heritage and meatiness in it's telling the story of real life.
It has all that, and then it just moves
then
on
it
to the
goes,
next scene and washes it away by going
Vampires.
some generic vampire line.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but then I don't know, it just didn't quite
It feels like two films.
Well, no, but I feel like
it feels like four films.
you get two things in one. You get something that needs to be expressed, and then something that's expressed too much. And the thing that is expressed too much is vampire films. They're everywhere. You know, I can probably name about, I'm going to say 20 vampire films. And I'm not
post-credit game scene. Ben naming as many vampire films.
We'll be
as
here for
can.
a while. But then it also goes into Black history and segregation and topics that need to be told.
Yeah.
Because it's unfortunately part of our history, and they need to carry on so people know.
Yeah.
People understand.
Do you not feel like all of that vampire stuff undercuts
the
importance
I
of
don't
that?
think it does, because what it does is it brings in a different audience. It brings multiple audiences together. And because I thought they were blended nicely.
It's unique. It is, like you said at the start, original.
Yeah. It felt personal as well.
I've got my own take on it. What do you think the sort of metaphor was in terms of the white vampires then taking the Black people and their music and then bringing them over to, the Irish music?
That scene was batshit.
Well,
They were Irish dancing in a circle, singing. Like, what? I was so lost in that scene. Sorry. Carry on.
I just thought that scene was really interesting. I was like, I never thought I'd see vampires Irish dancing, but first time for everything. No, I think it was a metaphor of, how do I explain this? People taking from other cultures and not giving credit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
that's what the metaphor was.
The
and
sort of appropriation, I guess.
Yeah. And, it's happened through history, and it still happens today, unfortunately, of people just taking.
Yeah.
Taking.
It's a really interesting thing because it dives into when is it appropriation, when it is appreciation, or when it's like assimilation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wrote this little thing where this was just me like waffling yesterday, but like on first watch and first thoughts, I understood it to be a commentary on white music encroaching on Black music and erasing that culture shown by the white vampires converting the Black blues artists to the white music. And it's almost a fight for the Black artists to hold on to their roots and hold on to their culture, which then raises the question about whether it's Whether, so we have like TikTok, we have social media, and the amount of pop music that's out there, the sort of things on the sort of sides, like everyone's sort of, their cultures and stuff like that are being sort of assimilated because everyone listens to everything, which is great because there's this melting pot of all these different cultures coming together.
What do you mean by assimilated?
Assimilating, just everything coming together.
Okay, yeah.
And losing its uniqueness in the process. I think there's a place for that. Definitely. It is an appreciation of everyone coming together, and there's no borders, there's no countries. It's just all humanity having music together. But there's also a real need, and I think maybe this is the message I took from the film, to hold on to what also makes you unique and original too. Like, I have no idea what, with my roots in terms of like Pakistani, I have no idea about any Pakistani music at all. It'd be really great to look into. Ryan Coogler talks about how his father-in-law also has Delta Chinese roots. And the guy got like his, Ancestry.com back and was like, what the shit? Like, because he's black. And then he goes, oh, let me trace it back and actually find out what music has influenced all my ancestors too. Just raises a question. I don't know where you guys fall on it too, in terms of whether there's a more benefit to this assimilation and appreciation of all the cultures coming together in the same genre, or there's a disadvantage to it, and it means that actually you lose the, blues, you lose the soul, you lose the funk, and you lose all these different genres which can sit in their own category too, rather than all just becoming a mishmash.
The word you used there.
Which one? I used a
soul.
lot. Sorry, I go off on waffle.
Soul. That word for me personally is the root of all of it. Is soul. It's what's in here, and music makes you feel in here, and it's a way of releasing, letting go. When you dance, you feel good. You never feel shit when you're dancing. I don't know. Have you felt shit when you're dancing? I've not.
Yeah. I was too drunk.
But we need music and we need culture, and we live in a world now where things seem to be assimilating, coming together, and I don't know whether it's a good thing. For example, I was having a conversation with my friend the other day, and one of the things he was saying he was like, when he was younger, and he'd go to other countries, they would be so unique because they didn't have the social media and they didn't have the influence from other countries in the same way they have now. So, for example, I went to Thailand last year or this year, believe it or not. And but
you don't talk about it ever, Ben.
Do I not? You see so much influence from other countries now in like Bangkok, which I don't think you would have got.
Starbucks in every corner, not every corner, but
McDonald's. McDonald's. I don't know. I've never been to a country where there isn't a McDonald's. It's crazy. I think they've got a McDonald's in Antarctica probably. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know how often it will get used, but it's there.
I zoned out and tuned back into what you were saying.
What are you talking about? I'm so lost.
I'm with you.
You know what I mean? I'm just trying to make it sound simple. The world is in a different place, and I don't know whether it's a good thing, but it is where it is at the moment. What about you?
What was the original question?
Which is more important, holding on to your uniqueness and originality in terms of your roots and culture, or having no borders so that everything is a melting pot of all things coming together in one thing and losing the originality in the process? Wow, there we go. I should have just said that the first time.
I think there is a way for everything to come together whilst maintaining solid foundations and solid roots in where it's come from.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course, original ideas coming from two separate influences are going to not be as original as the root, but those two roots can still coexist in the same place with each other. and complement each other even whilst being original still. Like, so I don't know is the answer, to be honest.
I think it's both. I don't think there's
Yeah.
one way is the right way.
No, there is a way to do it where everybody benefits and we get something new out of it as well.
Yeah, you
Like,
mix different colours, different paints, you get new things.
many different genres of music or art are amalgamations of other genres that have come together and then become their own thing.
True.
And then that own thing has then joined together with another thing and birthed a new thing. So that's just how life works, is things are constantly coming together and separating and creating new things and evolving. And that evolution is important for the world to progress, for people to progress. Without it, we'd still be stuck in the 30s. Like, it's important. And like you say, there is no right way to do it. But there is a way to do it that is respectful and maintains the value of each individual ingredient.
Yeah.
Any last points on Sinners?
Well, I wanted to talk about the score really quickly.
Makes sense. Yeah, sure. Yeah, go.
Ludwig Göransson, incredible. I know I mentioned it at the start, but incredible. One of the tracks from the score was called the Smokestacks Twins. Wow. That it somehow brings together both isolation and togetherness in a tune, well, not in a tune, in a song that's so authentic and so visceral.
God damn.
I'm going to ban you from saying that word.
What word? Visceral?
Visceral, yeah.
Why?
Just, you've used it one too many times. Carry
I
on.
love the word visceral. It just explains it by saying it. But yeah, the score was incredible. What did you think about the scores?
Yeah, it's stunning. Mars Catton singing is insane. The way they're all dancing, the vibrations that's happening as you're watching and listening, as you know, they're kind of calling forth the devil with their music. It's impactful. It's stunning. The other thing that I wanted to I don't know, I haven't worked this out in my head exactly yet. Be something to look into is the constant metaphor of two-ness, of duality. So there's a thing on the street where the Chinese immigrants there, they're neither black nor white, so they have two separate shops. They have one on one side of the street for the white people, one on the other side of the street for the black people, and so there's that duality there, but also separateness. Then there's also the twins, so there's some sort of motif regarding that as well. And then there's also the Irish and then the black music as well. So I haven't quite figured it out. It'd be something to look into more as well. But I'm sure Ryan Coogler has done some sort of masterful metaphors in there, and it'd be worth diving into.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts?
On the whole, film had good parts. It's well executed, looks visually amazing. The performances all around are brilliant. I just feel like it bit off a little bit too much than it could chew. And it lost itself in what it was trying to say, I think, because of the amount it was trying to shove in. So on the whole, not a bad film. I just think it could have worked better as two separate films.
Agreed.
And still maintained the messages.
Ben?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very, very enjoyable film to watch. It was also very visceral.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to say that word, but someone just mentioned it. It was also very, it was very educating. I didn't know a lot of what was going on in that film, but now I do, and that's an important part of it. I really liked Michael B. Jordan. I really liked Haley Steinfeld. I really liked Jack O'Connell. Like, incredible. A really good film.
Yeah. Let us know what you think about the film. Let us know what you think about Warfare, whether you completely disagree with me and Ollie. It's fine. Might get some hate. Love it.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you for the next episode, whatever we'll talk about next time.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure yet.